Now, it's been a long time since we've been able to look at one of these games.
Been about 3 years?
Because of the unfortunate demise of THQ. And we are not talking about a Darksiders game. We are, of course, talking about UFC, or EA's UFC.
Exactly.
So, basically, THQ goes under. They lose all their properties. EA had the MMA game previously, which kind of sucked.
Had Fatal, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But so then they fully get the UFC license.
Dana White comes down stage and says, hey, you know, THQ, yeah, they were okay, but now we're awesome with EA.
Yeah, they did. They built it up. They saved it for next gen, which we knew they were going to do. They release it. What do you think? What are your initial impressions?
I think it's a good first start. I think this is the start of a brand new burgeoning franchise. There's some problems with it, but it's just like, okay, for the first time, you've got some good ideas now.
Yeah, and I think the thing that worked for them is they didn't reinvent the wheel. Like, they didn't go out of their way to make some new control system or some new scheme, this kind of thing. Because by the end of THQ's reign, the third one, they had a pretty decent formula going. And so they've kept a lot of the buttons and the techniques that you remember from that have carried over.
I mean, there's some stuff that you'll have to relearn, but at the same time, like if you spend any decent amount of time with any of the Undisputed games, rather, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and so the core tenet was always there, but the way that they've done career, I really liked. I thought it was very good.
I didn't think it was as good as some of the ones in the past, though.
Like, so it's good, but then compared to the ones that had a couple of years to gestate, it's obvious that there was shortcomings.
It's great that it starts with the Ultimate Fighter, which I think which is something that THQ never did. I think and they use it. They cut it together with a lot of really cool FMV from the actual show, which I think is a good idea. But I really like Undisputed 2010's career mode, where you actually created a guy. He had a voice. He'd interact with all the everything going on. I thought that was really well done.
Because you've been playing too many wrestling games, and it was more akin to a wrestling game than necessarily.
Oh, it was developed by a company who made wrestling games to
and
begin with.
That's true. So basically, there's a lot to like about this game. I just think, like you say, there's missing a fair bit of polish, and to me, the idea of having Bruce Lee, right, instead of a lot. I mean, they've got like Royce Gracie. And no doubt they'll do DLC because we live in that generation now. But come on, there was no room for Legends or something. Like, I'm sure the second one is going to be full of...
Well, you can make Dan Severn in Creative Fight if you really want to.
You can make a lot of people, but I would love to be playing as Dan Severn. I'm glad that we just cut to the chase and got to the man with the mustache, because if I can't play as Dan Severn, something's wrong.
But at least the game looks nice.
It does. It looks amazing, and I think it's one of the few... all the sports titles do look pretty good now, but this... Sometimes if you're just glimpsing at it, you can genuinely think that it's full real motion.
It animates really well. The fact that you can mess a guy up and it looks really convincing. Again, really want to see what they do next year because it could look even better.
Yeah. So the advice would be, it's still real. If you're a UFC fan, definitely worth a pick up. It's not a bad game, but it's really looking forward to what they do next time.